Kind of bright, isn't it? Yeah. We are in business, baby. I watched some movies in January and also in February, and I would like to talk about them. So, let's roll. So the first movie I watched this year was Stepbrothers. And we don't really need to talk about that movie at all. I think I'm content with skipping over that one. So the next movie that I watched after Stepbrothers was Marriage Story. Noah Baumbach. He makes some good movies. I have to say it. I know that everyone else has said it too, and I'm not being original, but guy can write a movie about white men. No, but I really liked it. I loved the score, and the acting is really, really good. And I thought that it was a realistic take on divorce while not being overly depressing, and it was actually really heartwarming, and I enjoyed it. And I gave it, I think, a 9 out of 10, if not a 10. I really did like it. After Marriage Story, I watched The Lighthouse for the first time, and oh my, holy shit, dude. I feel like I don't need to ever try LSD because it's probably just like watching The Lighthouse in some degree. Like, if a 19th century lighthouse repairman took LSD, it would be this movie. And I really feel blessed that I can say that I never have to experience the real thing because I have this wonderful Robert Eggers Greek myth of a movie. So, very good. It should have won awards at the award show that we don't need to speak the name of, and it should have been nominated for more things than it was. Really good stuff. Willem Dafoe, he's talented. And Robert Pattinson, he is also talented. I already knew this because I've seen The Goblet of Fire. He has gone from being my heartthrob as a 10-year-old to being my heartthrob as a 20-year-old. I meant when I was 10, not when Robert Pattinson was 10. I wasn't alive when Robert Pattinson was 10. You get it, right? Yeah. See The Lighthouse. This is one you should pay for because then you can watch it in the full quality because they put so much work into making this movie look the way it looks. Rent it on Amazon. It's like $4. Actually, rent it not on Amazon. Support other things that aren't Amazon, but rent it. After that, I watched The Irishman. I really enjoyed it. You know, they don't really make stuff like this anymore. It's got all of the actors that your dad and your grandpa really like, and there's a reason for it. They're great, they're talented. The aging CGI that they did, the de-aging and the aging, worked really well for me. It was really effective in my opinion. It is 3.5 hours long. Before I watched it, people were like, oh, you have to watch it all in one go or it's not like the full experience. I disagree. I think that I would have enjoyed it more if I had split it up because 3.5 hours is a lot of time for someone that spends most of their time on TikTok and is used to 30 seconds of content at once. In this day and age, I think that I would have been able to comprehend it better if I had split it up into like 2 different watching periods. But I still really liked it and I will probably watch it again soon. Robert De Niro. Yeah. And then I watched Parasite, and that is like probably, I don't think it's my personal favorite movie of the year because that's Little Women, but I think that it is the best movie of the year. You know what I mean? Like, Little Women is like everything I want a movie to be. Like, that's the movie that I feel like was made for me. But Parasite, I think, is objectively a better film, if that makes sense. Like, just everything about it is like perfect, you know? I can't think of anything that I would change, and even if I could, it would be like personal preference. It wouldn't have anything to do with the integrity of it. Acting, outstanding. Cinematography, outstanding. Like, colors, the score. Dog. God, the music in that movie, what the heck? Bong Joon-ho. I've loved his work since I saw Snowpiercer in theaters. He's continuing to kick you in the face and make you think about society, but in a really fun way. Okja does a similar thing. I think that's the weakest of the 3, but still entertaining. Tilda Swinton. Yes, I can't wait to see what else he does. Jojo Rabbit is a film by Taika Waititi, and I watched Hunt for the Wilder People when that came out, and I loved it. still one of my favorite films, so I was excited to hear that this was coming out. I went into it thinking that it would be more, you know, I knew it was a comedy, but I thought it would be heavier than it was, and it was really just so much fun. You know, it has its moments that are, you know, sad because of the subject matter, but it's just a lot of fun. It's funny. The main kid is an amazing actor for someone his age. Scarlett Johansson's good. I don't know that she should have gotten the nomination for supporting actress, but she was good. Her German accent sounded a little French, but I'm nitpicking. Taika Waititi as Adolf Hitler. Good stuff, good stuff. You know, the jokes are funny. The cinematography, I know that's all I ever talk about because that's like one of the aspects of film that I enjoy the most, but the cinematography is great. I like that Waititi is taking something like World War II and making fun of them, because that's, you know, like he said, like that's what takes their power away. So yeah, Uncut Gems is a film that I watched by the Stepbrothers with Adam Sandler. What a man. I support his career. You know, he makes a good movie like every decade, and then he just makes a bunch of shitty movies for fun, and he just lives his life. And that's admirable, in my opinion. Just like there are other films that I've seen, this movie is just like a panic attack, but 2 hours long. And kind of in a good way, you know? Like, you're just stressed out the whole time, but it's great. One of the less rewatchable movies that I watched recently, but that's just a personal thing. It's just not the kind of film that I feel like I would want to sit down and watch a lot. You know, it's not like my type of film. But I can recognize that it is really well made and really well done. I just don't see myself being like, after a long day of work, I'm going to sit down and watch Uncut Gems, you know? Sometimes you just want to watch, like, My Neighbor Totoro. And this is not My Neighbor Totoro. That one, what's the basketball guy? The basketball player, he was really good. I love when athletes decide to act. It's so fun. It makes me feel terrible about myself because it's like, wow, you can bench press me and you also can act, and that's not fair because I can do neither, really. And then after that, I watched Swiped, which is a Noah Centineo film, and using the term film is honestly generous because it's probably the worst thing I've ever seen. It is like terrible in every way possible. A student film would have been better. You know, I could make something better than Swiped. I'm not saying that I have, but I'm saying I could potentially. Don't watch it, or do. 1 out of 10 if I have to give it a 1. If I don't, it's a 0 out of 10. And then the last movie I watched in January was Nacho Libre, which is a classic, a Nickelodeon, back when they made like really good movies. Nacho Libre is the hero that Gotham doesn't deserve, but the hero that it needs right now. You know? You know? Yeah, you know. I know I messed up the line. I know I messed it up. I know I messed it up. I know I messed it up. I know. And then in February, I watched Midsommar for the first time. Yes, it's Midsommar, is how you pronounce it. I got spoiled for a lot of it, so I knew a lot of the things that were going to happen, but I still really liked it. Florence Pugh, I acknowledge that she kind of consistently plays the same character to some extent, but there were no performances in it that I disliked. The only issue I had with it really were some of the aspects of the plot, but that's a nitpicky thing, and it's really, I can't go into that without spoiling it. So I prefer Hereditary. I thought it affected me more personally, but Midsommar is also definitely worth a watch, or also 10 watches, because I will definitely be seeing it again. I love the amount of detail and like forethought that went into it. You don't see that all too often, so yeah, really enjoyed it. I've really seen almost exclusively good films this year, which is really fun. Then I watched The Lighthouse again, and it was just as good the second time. And then I watched Parasite again, which was better the second time. Actually, well, The Lighthouse I would say was just as good, but only because I fell asleep during part of it. The Parasite, watching it a second time, was better. I would say. Knowing the whole plot going into it, it's one of those movies that it's meant to be rewatched. And then after that, I watched American Beauty, which I saw for the first time when I was like 15, and I had to watch it for a class. And it's every film professor's wet dream because of the, you know, symbolism and fucking whatever. It's like, if you had to watch a movie in your AP English class, it might have been this one. It's one of those things that's like, the plastic bag, it represents humanity, and then you write that in your paper and you get full credit. It's that kind of thing, you know? It's good for what it is. Kevin Spacey's in it, which is a bummer. That's all. And then I watched Punch Drunk Love for the first time, and I liked it. Some people, like, love this movie, and it's like their favorite film ever made, and, you know, it's like their favorite romantic film. I did really enjoy it. I just think for no particular reason, it didn't, like, I didn't fall in love with it that in the same way that other people have. Adam Sandler's great. Everyone in it really is really good. I love what they did with their choice of color, and Adam Sandler gives one of his best performances of his career. After that, I watched Good Time, which is the other Stepbrothers film that I've seen, and really liked it a lot. I liked it more than Uncut Gems, personally. The dialogue is so expertly done. It's like, it feels so realistic. Everything about it, there's so much detail in it that it feels like it could be like a documentary, you know? And Robert Pattinson's outstanding. Benny Safdie is outstanding. Holy crap. They have some of these helicopter shots that I was like, how did they do that? There's this part where they're driving in this car and the camera pans down onto the car, but they're in a helicopter. So it's like, how did they do that? There were so many details that just go into making it feel so real. Like, they go to this bail bonds place, and like the assistant has like a wrist brace on, and you see it in like 2 shots. It's there for no reason other than their devotion to realism, and I really appreciate things like that. You know, it's in the details. Their use of color is really unique and something that I really enjoy. I even if the color doesn't make sense, like, there shouldn't be a reason for a red neon light to be there, I still think it's fun. You know, it's using the art form to the fullest that you can, right? Anyway, yes, Good Time is a good time. And then I watched Lady Bird again for like the 100th time because it's Lady Bird. Like, it's my favorite film, probably, next to Ratatouille. So, like, you can never go wrong. The one thing I don't like about Lady Bird, this is just my personal pet peeve. There's nothing about the film that is bad. It's just my personal thing, is that she ends up getting to go to this fancy New York college at the end. You know, like, I was hoping that she would have to compromise and go to Davis, and that she would find things about Davis that she loved, and I thought that would have fit better with the theme of the film more. And then I watched The Wind Rises, which is a lesser-known Hayao Miyazaki Studio Ghibli film, and it's one of my favorites, honestly. Like, a true story about this what do you call it? Like, he designed airplanes for Japan in World War II, and it's also like a love story, and it's just beautifully animated, beautifully scored, just everything about it, you know? Studio Ghibli, you can't go wrong. I've seen it before, but I watched it again because I really like it. I watched Scott Pilgrim vs. the World for probably the like 20th time. I watched that film every now and again, and I never get tired of it. It's so rewatchable. It's one of my favorites. Michael Cera is probably his best performance ever. It's just Edgar Wright, you know? It's just fun. The editing that he does is so unique. It's so his style and only his style. And it's hilarious. There's all these little details that they, like, you know, references to, like, you know, old video games and that kind of thing, that it's like, if you miss it, it's fine, but if you recognize it, it just makes it so much more fun. And then I watched Good Time again, and I can say it was an even gooder time the second time. That's all that I've watched in January and February. I recommend watching all of them, even though some of them are bad, just because it's good to watch bad things and also good things. So yes, watch all of them and enjoy them, and enjoy the art form that is film. It's good stuff. Hopefully I'll be doing more of these. Like, I'll do what I watched in March. That is all. Okay. Stay fancy.